Okay, so we've all been there, haven't we? Trapped in those endless phone menus, wrestling with robotic voices that
Yeah.
just don't seem to get it. Super frustrating. But what if customer service, even from a machine,
hmm
could actually feel, well, intuitive,
hmm
helpful, maybe even human-like? Today, we're doing a deep dive into something really fascinating. It's changing how businesses talk to us and how we talk back to them, the critical importance of conversation design and conversational AI for business.
Exactly. And our mission here is really to explore why crafting these AI conversations is just as vital as the AI tech itself. We'll look at how it impacts your experience as a customer and, how it affects a business's actual bottom line. The source we're diving into today gives a really comprehensive look at this whole field, how it's evolving.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The paper kicks off by saying, basically, the era of those old traditional IVR systems. It's over. Remember, hit it. One for sales, two for service. Feels like ages ago.
Oh, definitely. That's the past. What we're seeing now is a huge shift. Businesses are really leaning into advanced stuff like natural language processing, NLP, and machine learning, ML. They're using it to build conversational AI that aims for, well, more personalized, efficient, and genuinely engaging customer experiences. It's moving way beyond those rigid, press three paths. We're talking proactive support, getting info in real time, handling a much wider range of things you might ask, and doing it intuitively.
And the paper points out some big wins for businesses, right? Like better customer retention, more loyalty, and importantly, pretty significant cost savings because you don't need as much human intervention for everything. Sounds pretty compelling.
It really is. And there's this aha moment in the source,
Yeah.
especially for retail. AI can help engage that top 1% of customers. And get this, they're valued at something like 18 times more than the average customer. We're not talking generic emails here. This is about delivering these super personalized experiences based on context, based on behavior. That's what builds deep loyalty.
Okay, so if the AI is getting so smart with language and learning, why is the design part, the conversation design, still so essential? What's the tricky bit?
That gets us to what the source calls the scope problem. See, lots of conversations, maybe most, have more than one actual intent, what you really want to achieve. So you might start by asking one thing, but that's often just step one, like password reset. That's usually not the end goal, right? You need the password to do something else. Or think about retail asking about order status. That simple question. It can branch off into maybe 20 different follow-up intents. You might want to change the address or cancel or ask about a refund. And if the bot can't follow that flow, understand those multiple steps. It either has to bump you to a human agent, which costs more, or even worse, it just leaves you hanging with your problem only half solved, which is, incredibly frustrating.
Right, so the AI needs to handle these complex human intentions, maybe even anticipate the next step.
Mhm.
It sounds like understanding us how we think and talk is absolutely key.
Yeah.
Is that where conversation design really shines?
Exactly. That's the core of it. It's all about a deep, user-centered approach. It involves, well, several key things. First, really understanding the users. Doing the research. Who are they? What do they need? What are their preferences? How will they actually interact in different situations? Then there's the involvement of users. You have to bring them into the process, talk to them, test usability, get their feedback all the way through.
So interviews, testing.
Yes. And crucially, iteration. It's never really done. It's a constant cycle. Design something, test it, get feedback, refine it, test again. Think of it like constant linguistic A/B testing almost. Sometimes just changing a single phrase can totally change how users react and whether they achieve their goal.
So the end goal isn't just function, it's making these chats feel natural, human-like,
Yeah.
empathetic even.
Precisely. That boosts effectiveness, sure, but it also makes the whole interaction more, well, pleasant, less like pulling teeth.
Now, does this apply across different ways we interact, like chat versus voice?
Absolutely. Conversation design has to consider the omnichannel presence. The context matters, whether you're interacting via voice IVR, web chat, a virtual assistant like Alexa or Google Assistant, or even social media bots, Facebook, X, Instagram, or internal tools like Slack or Teams, or just plain old SMS and WhatsApp. The aim is consistency, a seamless experience no matter how you choose to connect.
Okay, this sounds way more involved than just writing some Q&As. It's not just creative writing, is it? There seems to be some real science behind
Oh,
it.
definitely. It's grounded in serious disciplines. It pulls heavily from human-computer interaction, HCI, and psychology. Specifically, things like cognitive psychology, how we process information, and linguistics, how language shapes our understanding. The idea is to design interactions that actually align with how our brains work. And it also borrows from behavioral economics. Concepts like choice architecture, designing the options to subtly guide users, and understanding decision heuristics, the mental shortcuts we all use. This lets designers, strategically nudge users towards desired actions, but in a way that still feels like you're in control, maintaining your autonomy.
Okay, so bringing all that design thinking together, how does it directly benefit businesses? We mentioned cost savings, but what about the customer side?
Well, it fundamentally boosts customer engagement. A well-designed conversation builds rapport. It feels natural, maybe even empathetic, and it's personalized. It's also key for managing expectations, being clear about what the AI can and can't do. That honesty builds trust. Plus, building in feedback loops helps constantly improve things.
And data. Does it help gather useful info?
Huge potential there. Data collection and personalization are major benefits. You capture interaction, data sentiment analysis, common questions where people get stuck. Businesses use that to constantly refine the experience. And personalization means tailoring the conversation based on what the system knows about you, past purchases, preferences, maybe demographics. This leads to adaptive conversations, deeper engagement. But critically, it has to be done responsibly, giving you control over your data, being transparent. That's essential for trust.
Makes sense. The paper apparently outlines a pretty structured way to build these things. A multifold process, it calls it, starting with understanding the user.
That's right, a systematic approach. It breaks down into roughly 5 phases. Phase 1 is insightful discovery. This is the deep dive. Analyzing historical chat logs, call data, interviewing actual users and the human agents who help them, understanding the tech constraints, really mapping out the requirements.
Okay, laying the groundwork.
Exactly. Then comes persona crafting. This is super important. You create detailed personas for both the bot, its personality, tone, vocabulary, and the users. These aren't just vague descriptions, they're archetypes with specific goals, challenges, expectations. Does this user want a quick answer, or do they need more handholding? Are they tech savvy? This guides everything.
So you design for those personas.
Precisely. Phase 3 is dialogue creation and structural blueprinting. Now you start scripting actual sample conversations, designing flowcharts, mapping out all the possible paths the conversation could take, like journey mapping, but for dialogue.
Okay, mapping it out.
Then, expert refinement. This is where you build in sophisticated ways to handle errors or misunderstandings, repair flows, and you iterate based on feedback from domain experts, linguists, designers. And finally, phase 5. Rigorous validation. This means thorough testing, UX testing, sanity checks. They even use methods like Wizard of Oz. Yeah, it's where a human secretly types the AI's responses during a test with a real user. It lets you test the conversation flow and usability before you build the complex AI backend. Catches a lot of edge cases.
Wow, that persona development really seems central. It's about really getting inside the user's head, understanding them as an individual. That's quite a process. But, the proof is in the pudding. Does this actually deliver results in the real world? The paper had examples, right?
It does, and they're quite compelling. Let's look at retail. One company had this outdated, clunky DTMF keypad system. They brought in a conversational IVR built on Google Dialogflow, focused on key tasks. The results: a 78% improvement in average handle time AHT. Calls that took 3 minutes were resolved in about 40 seconds on first contact.
70%. That's massive.
Huge. And they hit an 80% intent recognition rate, meaning the AI understood what the customer wanted 4 out of 5 times. Then there's healthcare. A provider had an AI system, but it wasn't used much, leading to lots of calls getting transferred to human agents. By enhancing the AI features and focusing on the conversation design, they saw a 19.8% improvement in the overall containment rate. That's the AI handling the issue fully.
So nearly 20% fewer calls needed a human.
Exactly. And a 22% reduction in agents having to transfer calls to other agents. Big efficiency gain, better patient experience. Finally, banking. A bank was struggling with low authentication rates and falling satisfaction because of an old, inefficient IVR. They revamped it using NLU natural language understanding tech from Microsoft and Amazon, applied user-centered design, redesigned the menu, improved the wording, the outcome. An 8% lift in authentication rate, and, maybe even more impressively, 77% self-service containment. 3/4 of users could solve their issue without needing an agent.
Those numbers really speak for themselves, don't they? It shows this isn't just theory. Well-defined conversations have a massive practical impact.
Absolutely. And connecting this to the sort of bigger picture,
Yeah.
as AI becomes more woven into everything we do, the ethical side gets really critical. The paper stresses this: privacy, transparency, fairness. Handling data responsibly, making sure the AI isn't biased in its language, being clear about how data is used, that's fundamental for user trust.
Yeah, that trust piece is huge. So looking forward then, where is all this heading? It sounds like talking AI is going to get even more sophisticated.
Oh,
Ah,
definitely. The future looks pretty exciting for conversation design. We're expecting enhanced personalization and context awareness, AI getting even better at tailoring the chat in real time based on more data and smarter ML.
more personal, okay.
Also, the integration of multimodal interfaces, moving beyond just typing or talking. Think visuals, maybe even haptic feedback for richer interactions. There's a growing emphasis on emotional intelligence and empathy, AI that can maybe sense frustration or confusion and adjust its tone or approach.
Wow, AI with EQ.
Kind of. And continued advancements in NLU and NLG understanding and generating language, making conversations feel even more fluid, handling complex sentences, slang, industry jargon. And one more really interesting area, integration with AR and VR. Imagine getting customer support within an augmented or virtual reality environment. Totally immersive.
What a transformation. Seriously, from hitting buttons on a phone keypad feeling totally stuck to now seeing how thoughtful conversation design can make AI genuinely engaging, personal, efficient. It affects customer loyalty, company costs, everything. It really proves that understanding the human part is what makes the technology truly powerful.
It really does. And it makes you think, if conversations become the main way we interact with tech, how might that change our expectations for human-to-human conversations as we get more used to seamless AI chats?
That's a really interesting point. What if the best, most efficient, maybe even most satisfying conversations we have in the future are with AI? Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.